listen, this is a meaty episode. We have so many things going on, and we didn't want to shortchange any part of the stories because there's so much complexity. But we're talking about family, and there is complexity in family. And so you may notice a little more of a switch out. So now, in place of nephew is nephew. This is my nephew, Michael, and this is my niece, Kimberly. And we're going to later on be bringing back DeVaughn. We'll be bringing back Karla in because we got a lot going on. But now we were finishing up, and I tell you, brother, I'm not even lying to you. My eyeballs started sweating a little bit when you were talking about your kids.
Just a little bit?
Just a little. It was like a Badoo kind of like coated them. But I sucked the thug tear back into my eyeballs. But I was like, okay. Oh my goodness, right? But part of the reason why I was thinking about this is when you talk about Jen and when you talk about your children, there is a softness in you that I have never seen before. I certainly did not grow up with that Michael, right?
Right.
And in fact, since I'm telling your business, I feel like we're starting each section with me being like, and let me tell you what else Michael did. We had, some people call it sibling rivalry, but that's not what was going on with us.
No.
We had something else.
Wasn't good.
It was not good. It was not good. I mean, like most kids, like, you know, mommy was always like, let Michael have the remote because he's the only man in the house. And like, whatever, Patricia. You know, I'm more man than Mr. Grady will ever be. But, was I not though? All right, no? Too much? Okay. But we would get back from serving Mass at St. Thomas the Apostle. They thought it was cute for my brother and me to serve Mass together. We were black Catholics in a lily white church.
Actually, at the time you were mixed.
Oh, that's true. In my former identity.
I just think we should throw that out.
We're doing that right now.
Well, that's for throwing him under the bus.
Right. I'm mixed with nappy hair. You all black with the rat tail. Okay. We're beads. We're beads. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, you can't forget the beads.
We cannot because
that's what made it.
Yeah, well, did it or was it the rat tail?
Yes.
It was a lot going on. Okay. All right. So we're serving Mass as the little black. We were really like the token black kids at St. Thomas because like the parish was predominantly white and everyone was at least 87 years old.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Louise going in there with a fur coat. Ma'am, you're stunting on the old white people here?
Look, let's call it, if we're going to call it, go all the way. The fur hat with the fur matching coat, with the fur matching gloves.
Yeah.
With the bling on both wrists.
And Grandpa sitting in the back row because that's where she put him.
Right. With shoes he got from the Goodwill store, along with the pants and the shirt and the tie.
And she had the penny stain, crushing it with the turban. Do you remember the turbans?
I do remember the turban.
Right. So we're serving Mass, making Louise proud.
Walking slow.
Because how you gonna do it? I mean, and now when I think about it, reference shout out to Gordon from Sesame Street. And you're like, what does this have to do with anything? Karla, you may know what I'm about to say, don't you? You know exactly what I'm about to say. Because he had a past, friends. Before he was Gordon from Sesame Street, he was a pimp called Willie Dynamite. And there's a scene. That's right. That's right. And one time, Willie Dynamite was running out the precinct because they couldn't keep Willie down. And do you know what Willie did? Willie threw the coat behind him, and he sidestepped down the steps. And the reason why I'm referencing this is because that's how Louise would walk out of St. Thomas the Apostle on Sundays.
I can't.
What's good, Father Klima? Coat, boom, 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 boom. Hitting them steps like Willie Dynamite. This is the pedigree we come from.
I can't even.
Am I lying, though?
No. That's what makes this.
With the rings, and then she had the big go-kart with the white wall tires and the curb feelers, personalized license plate, Mrs. G. Say something, Father Klima. And she roll out. We serve Mass with your curly hair, my Jerry curl, tag teaming it, making something happen, right? That one time we almost set the thing on fire. It's fine. We worked through that.
Yeah.
And we looked like these model kids. And then we would go home and fight.
Yes.
Like for real fight.
Yes.
I'm still feeling a certain way about when you tried to close me in the fold-up couch.
Okay. All right. Are we gonna do that?
I'm just saying.
You mean?
Did you not try
Was that the 5th or 6th time you took my shirt?
Are you still in that blue sweater?
Yes, I am.
Let it go.
Well, okay. Let it go.
It was a fold-up couch. I'm a child.
It's a blue sweater.
Well,
my blue sweater.
You're an adult now, though.
I'm just saying, maybe that's what's wrong with my scoliosis now. But anyway.
I guess the better question is, did you fit?
Well, no, that's the problem. That's the problem, nephew. You know, like, there's a safe word, and we clearly didn't have one.
No, we did not.
You still mad about the toothpick and eardrum situation? Let it go. Your hearing's fine.
You know what?
Is it?
Well, I mean, you know.
He chucks it up to the loud music, but...
It's fine. It's probably the music.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, my point in all this is we were warring relentlessly. And we went for it. Mm-hmm. Like, we talking like, you know how people play tag football? We play real football.
Tackle.
In the living room.
Off the couch.
Through the glass table. Do what you got to do. We did break that glass table.
We did.
We broke 2 glass tables.
Yes, we did.
It's not important.
It's really is not.
We did.
It's not important.
It's not.
You need to get to what is important.
What's important is this. Well, I think on a serious level, what's interesting now in retrospect, 20, 30 years later, is underneath our fighting was the tension between our feelings about our dads.
Yes.
I had a dad, and you didn't. That was the narrative.
Yes.
Which ended up actually being flipped.
Yes.
Which we won't even go to because that's a whole nother episode.
No, we can't go there right now.
But we were fighting about these things because I'm living life in a certain way. You are feeling enraged about your situation. And we had this horrible tension between us that in a way, in reflection, our moms fed. Our moms, plural. No, one.
One.
Fed it, right? So to me, not only is it crazy that you would end up with your origin story having this wonderful wife, wonderful family, and how you structure that. It's crazy to me that you end up having, first of all, kids. I just didn't picture that.
I didn't either.
Yeah. So and then to picture that your kids would grow up and then be plugged into this family where, like, Lisa and I sometimes talk about this, our sister, and we'd be like, your kids think you're dope. They like love you, right? And not that I'm saying that like, why? You know, but no, like they love you, but they recognize who you are, like you are a father to them. And then, you know, Jen, self-explanatory about that. And then because of the nature of family, your kids have a relationship with each other. So you have a familial...
Yeah, but theirs started like ours did.
Well, not glass table.
No, not glass table, but there were a couple times I was...
But think about it. They work through modeling.
Yes.
The family that they come up in. You have no rubric for that, and then you did it. And then they have this thing that they come up in too. And then they see how hardworking their parents are. So now we're sitting here, and niece, how old are you?
28.
How old are you now?
26.
Homeowners. Homeowners.
Yeah.
Right? Mind blowing. So they model all of these things. So I'm curious, before I get into the niece and the nephew, I'm curious about you. I mean, because you also had a very different relationship with Lisa.
Yes.
How would you describe your relationship with Lisa? By the way, for those who don't know about Talkin Bout Us, on episode 2, you will have seen the backstory of our sister, our little sister, and her experience with her family, very, very different. And my relationship with Lisa, who you will have seen, was almost like being mother figure. Now you're seeing the fold of an additional layer of family, and Michael is the oldest of the siblings, but your relationship with Lisa was very, very different.
Yes. We this is going to sound horrible, but you were the we were like teaming up against you because you were the only one that had the father. So our relationship was tight, and we were warring against the child that had a father because ours was not only just absent but nowhere to be found.
Right.
So you were the outcast.
I was, and I felt it. Like, real talk, I felt it in the house where it was just like they were having a very different experience. And then there were times when our mom, would kind of pit us against each other. Like, for example, my dad would pay child support. You know this story.
Yes, I do.
She would pay child support, and then she would say, and then Michael and Lisa might say, "Oh, we want pizza for dinner," and my mom would say, "What?"
That's Kim. Can we order pizza with your child support money? Which is the worst thing she could have ever said.
Right, because then among everything else, you have the two siblings who are already feeling away and saying, you get to control if the reward happens in the house.
Yes.
That's awful.
Yes.
And not only that, but if you say no,
then what?
You're a bigger target.
Yeah.
Because you denied them what they wanted.
Exactly. Right, and it's already funky. Like, it's already funky.
Yes.
So it was like the house felt weird, like where we didn't have that sibling relationship. So then when I, from my vantage point, would just see how y'all operated as a family, I would see you and you had something we didn't have. So I'm interested in you, Dad, saying what you notice about your kids that's different than what our relationship as siblings was. And then I'm going to pull their voices in.
So what I think is different is that I was really angry with you. And even though they were angry with each other, there were moments that you could tell that, even though, for example, Michael may be mad at Kimberly, but if Kimberly called for him for help, so quick story. So we would be tickling Kimberly, and Kimberly would be like, Michael, come save me. And without fail, no matter what they fought about, no matter what they did, Michael came barreling around the corner to save her. Now, we would start tickling him instead of her, and then he'd be like, Kimberly, come save me. And Kimberly is bolting.
I was the guinea pig.
No, we're not. I thought we were throwing people under the bus.
Yes, we are.
Oh.
She asked. So, I do believe in my heart and in my soul that they both love each other, they both love us, and they will do anything to help not only themselves out, but to help us. Mm-hmm. So I think there's, with my kids, there's no rage because a parent is not there. There's no rage because a parent lied to them. Yeah. There's none of that. It's just them. We're here. They know they can come to us at any time for anything. Mm-hmm. They know they can go to each other for anything. And what I think is so amazing is that it just, no matter what happens, it always seems to work. It just does. I can't explain it. Mm-hmm. I don't know how, but it just works.
So I want to go to you, niece. From your vantage point, how would you describe your parents' relationship, and how would you describe how your family feels? And I don't mean the extended family. I mean this 4-piece unit.
That's a very good question. Functional. A lot of my friends, they came from maybe broken homes, so anytime I'd be like, yeah, you can come over, or they just see my family and they're like, what's this? Mm-hmm. I'm like, these are my parents. Mm-hmm. And it was just normal for me, so it was weird that people would come in and be like, this is weird. Like, your parents actually get along. And I'm like, yeah, that's what's supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. Like, they're supposed to get along. Why your parents fight? Mm-hmm. So I would just say, in all, it was just healthy. it was good.
When did you realize that you were having a very different experience than your friends at home?
Middle school?
Mm-hmm.
I would say it would be earlier, but it didn't really click until probably middle school.
Mm-hmm.
That it was like, this is not the norm in society.
Yeah. And how would you, now as adults, I mean, and we know like when we're younger, we're hot on fire mess, right? But like when we're older, you and your brother, like y'all are lightweight friends. Which, I mean, that seems dysfunctional for me. Like, what is wrong with y'all? But it's like, I don't actually, because we, even like, we're good now. But like, real talk, we've been working on this a long time.
A long time.
Right? Right? But how do you explain how y'all work from your lens? And do you let me just, y'all know that every bunch of siblings don't get along like this, right?
Yes.
I'm trying to decide if we really work.
Got it. Okay, that's fair.
No, we do.
No.
I feel
think
like she thinks we do, but I feel like I was always the guinea pig.
Say more. Hold a second, niece. Say more, nephew.
Like, I'll tell you a story. We were at the bus stop, waiting on the bus. It's cold
not
outside.
this one.
It's cold outside. I'm young. She's a little older. She understands. Science. I don't. Tells me to lick the light pole.
Oh.
Does one of those. She says, nothing will happen.
You
I've seen
believe it.
cartoons.
You trust it.
I trust her. I've seen cartoons. So I was like, this ain't going well. She's like, no, it's fine. So I lick it. It gets stuck.
Yeah, it does.
And then she says, just rip it off. So I do.
No, you panicked.
I did panic.
You panicked.
Naturally. My tongue is stuck.
One word.
I don't know why panic wouldn't set in.
Yeah.
Like 3 minutes before the bus is coming. Like I'm stuck to a pole.
Right. You got to get on this bus.
Right. Yeah, because if I miss the bus, I'm in trouble.
Right.
Explain that to your mom.
Right.
So I rip it off. Tongue starts to bleed.
Hold on. Before you start...
No, you have to let him finish.
No,
You have to let him finish.
I want to hear her defense.
In my defense, though, it was just the tip of his tongue. It's not like he licked the entire... Like, it's not like he put his entire tongue on the...
Do you know what that sounds like? I'm with you here. What that sounds like is, yes, I got my hand, caught in the machinery, but I only lost the finger.
Right.
I lost the tip.
Yeah, but I have the rest of my whole arm, and so you can live a whole life with 9 fingers.
Right.
So, bus is coming. She's like, oh, I'll hold the bus. Just go home and get mom. She threatened to leave me. She was going to leave me. Like she always does.
And here you stand.
Listen.
Strong.
Yeah, you are. Broad-shouldered. You got through it. So I'm going to come back to you. How would you describe what your family looked like for you? Because this is different eyes. Because I will say this. One of the things that I notice about y'all's family structure is, whether it was intentional or not, there are gender perspectives. Like there's masculinity. It's funny, DeVaughn, I'm thinking about you and some of our conversations we've had about masculinity, right? And without overtly speaking on it, you're a very masculine guy, like cars and football and, this whole kind of thing. And your son mirrors a lot of that.
Yes.
So what did you notice about your relationship, particularly like the dynamics with your parents growing up?
So, like, it was very interesting because, like, a lot of the time it was me dealing with my mom because my dad always worked night shifts and we were in school. So we didn't get to deal with my dad necessarily a lot except really in the mornings. And it was, Dad sleeping. Don't wake him.
Yeah. In my defense.
There's a lot of in my defense.
Well, and with that, if that was that's one of my greatest regrets is that I put
So much into providing.
As a male, I thought as a male that you needed to provide for your family, and
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah.
But sometimes providing for your family means you need to be that shoulder to cry on. You need to be the one cheering for them when they're in the stands. It's not all about numbers and, you know, or the roof over the head isn't important. But I missed out so much because I had that male, that testosterone that I've got to do this, you know, because, you know, they need this, that, or the other. And sometimes they just wanted me.
Yeah. So what was that like for you? This is that.
I mean, it was kind of hard because, like, the masculinity thing, like you were talking about, like the working on cars and watching football was not necessarily a thing. So it was more, oh, let's go bake a cake, or let's, kind of the stuff I'm not going to say I regretted, but I was like, I want to go work on a car. I want to listen to loud music, watch horror movies, you know, stuff like that, where they were just like, let's go watch Dancing with the Brides, or...
Okay, first of all, Dancing with the Stars, and we didn't watch that. Ever.
No, I'm talking about the dress shopping one, or I don't know.
Go
Say
ahead.
yes to the dress.
The girly stuff.
Right. Yeah. And you're saying that there were moments when you're with your mom and your sister and you're doing their things, but you were thinking about the
other things like football. And,
yeah. But he was at work. So when did you start feeling like you started developing a relationship?
Was when I started working with him. It was hard, but I feel like I was able to be that guy he needed.
Again, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. That was me. I'm sorry. I know I worked with both my kids, but in Kimberly's defense, Michael got the brunt.
What do you mean when you say he got the brunt?
You were definitely harder on him.
Yeah, I was harder on him.
Well, and I worked underneath him.
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah. Kimberly, so Michael, because he had a night job, would work with me during the day. And then Kimberly would come on and watch This Is at night. So I had very little interaction with Kimberly at work because I'd usually be leaving when she's coming in. Michael, I had, it was just every day. It was me and him every day. And I rode him hard.
Yeah.
I rode him hard.
Well, I'm talking
and it was,
even before that.
Yeah, well,
when I first got a job, I was working underneath you as a dishwasher.
Yes.
And I got the brunt of it because I was right there.
Yes.
So everything you were feeling,
Yes.
you were there.
All the pressure of everything.
Yeah.
Like if he got stressed out, it got passed on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so deep. It is like there's a lot of a thing that's happening there. And then meanwhile, you're probably spending a lot of time with your mom.
Yeah.
So then what was your relationship with your mom like for you? I like that Jen looked around the corner like, you better get this right. It was very much like, although Jen is
Like it was
always
a rehearsed
here,
answer.
right? And it was like we went over this on the cue cards. And
She raised it up a little bit. She was like,
yeah, it was like where she's here, she's like, I'm still here, but I'm here.
Right.
And
like
it
I'm
was
still calm, but you better not mess this up.
You know, like the James Brown words you find in the band. You know, if they get it wrong, go ahead.
I mean, we just got along. She taught me a lot of, like, tricks of the trade. So later on in life, I find myself doing a lot of crafts and helping out a lot of different people in aspects that are not necessarily more known in my generation, I would.
So you bring up something. What do you think? What are ways that you see your mom where you don't think other people might know about her or notice because you've spent so much time with her? What are some things about her that you notice about her, that you understand about her, that people who don't get as much time with her would notice? They probably, because you're just there. And just,
Well, I can say the level of knowledge she has.
say more.
She's a very wise woman. Mm-hmm. I mean,
She has a book of just
0 to 10. I mean, prime example.
Right.
She does have a book of, like, useless knowledge. Like, just random facts
That she just knows.
that she just knows.
No reason and why she knows it, but
or how.
She just knows.
So is she like when y'all are like, we need information?
No, she just randomly, we'll be sitting there having a conversation and be like, did you know there's a tree that owns itself?
What?
Be like, what? Why?
How do you know this? And what do I do with this information?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. What do you think you're learning about relationships from watching your parents?
How to communicate properly, especially like talking about your feelings and how to negotiate disagreements, for sure.
Say more. Like, so what are you learning? What is the way to negotiate disagreements?
So, when the relationship I'm in with my boyfriend, it's been difficult, but it's easier to navigate knowing that, like, with all my past relationships and my knowledge and how to navigate and growing as a person, especially, just realizing, like, I'm a whole person to begin with, and then I not needing somebody in my life, but wanting somebody, which was, like, a big thing for me, because I felt like most of my relationships that have failed, it was just, like, I felt that I needed to have somebody in order to become a whole person. So that was one I really had to learn.
Carla, you know I was feeling you over here, because I'm listening, I'm looking at Niece, but I'm like looking at Carla like, do you hear this?
So my question would be for both of them. What pieces have you learned? I know you've learned from your mom, and we've talked about that. What pieces of a relationship have you learned from your dad that helps you navigate where you're at now in your relationships?
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Mike said, let me step in here if I can. You know,
I mean,
nothing. Absolutely nothing.
You did put a higher bar for me on what I should want in a potential partner. Like, I shouldn't set the bar so low, even though there was a time that
we're not
the
talking
bar.
about
we're
that.
But that's the piece I was looking for, because oftentimes we don't get that from our dads, but I can just tell with y'all's vibe, like, you had to have gotten something. And even though you got the brunt of it, I often wonder, like, what is it that you got from your dad that would help you navigate in your future relationship?
Just the willing to understand and be able to communicate healthily with other people.
say more though. Like what? Because and so here's the thing. Here's the abstract thing that. And what's tripped out for me, I'm like looking at, DeVaughn and Karla, what's tripped out for me is you can tell in talking with this Lindsay family, this just is normal. Sunday for them. And so they're like, I don't even know how to talk. This is just what we do, right? But like what we're watching and friends and family out there watching this is one of these things where like, this is normal.
And it's weird trying to talk about it because it's like, this is not normal for most people. So to realize that it's just like
I said, and I'm going to tell you also too from an outward perspective. What's also interesting is the high energy thing that comes that like kind of is a derivative of your rage. You have.
Oh yes.
And then the calm nature. He has.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Right, and so
Absolutely.
like I see it this way, where like you're here. And you can go.
Oh, everywhere.
Right? And somehow, even when I see y'all interact, you have your mom's nature. Mm-hmm. And you have your dad's nature.
Yes.
And in every direction, your family ends up having balance.
Right, because even with working with him for so long, I was kind of his calm, and she's my mom's chaotic.
Yes. Yeah. And somehow in how you function... Because, though, y'all all have the same foundation, you know what to do with it. Like, when it happens, you know what to do with it. So, question, did y'all notice, like, whenever there were tensions or disruptions or challenges in the family, particularly, like, when your parents are saying, like, if there was one thing that happened where we didn't expect hardship, it was family. What did you notice about, like, what did this feel like when stuff wasn't good?
So, like, as a young age?
whatever age, like when you're not like stuff is not necessarily good, but you're not seeing necessarily the explosion. But how did you notice that your parents handled that, or what did the family dynamic feel like? Because I'm thinking like for us in our household, which is why this is tripped out for me that it goes this way here, right? Like we knew exactly what was going on, what was wrong, the dysfunction. We knew what our bills looked like. We knew when we were not having a candlelight dinner for ambiance. You know what I'm saying? We knew, like, if the lights go off and mommy says go down and get me a cup of Kool-Aid, that she's putting us in a dangerous situation. Because these roaches lift weights. Okay?
And actually,
Nephew, they lift weights. Okay? It wasn't 2 of them.
it was like 22.
Right? In an army, like, bro, I told you that we got the kitchen after 9. You know what I'm saying?
When lights go out, we got the kitchen.
Basically. And so, like, I'm listening to y'all like, this is nothing like what we grew up with at all.
No.
So, how did, like, when y'all are watching Hardship, like, we knew everything that was going on.
Right.
And
I think that's what's different. As a kid, like, we didn't notice anything.
I mean,
They just took care of it. It was... They didn't want us to realize that they were struggling.
I mean, there was times where they did explain certain situations where it's just like, we're struggling, we need to, tone it back. But
for the most part, we didn't notice.
They just
it was just
worked it
another
out.
day for us.
Mm-hmm.
They just made it happen. However they made it happen, they made it happen.
which is, and I'm staring at nephew too, like, bruh, what?
But I feel like as we got older, it was when we saw one side of our family struggling, we all pitched in. It wasn't just, oh, well, we'll let them try to figure it out. It was, what can we do to help?
Where did that come from?
What do you mean? Like,
See?
That's normal for them.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me.
Yes.
That even as kids, they understood, okay, well, we have to jump in and help out to make the struggle better for everybody versus saying, well, that's mom and dad, let them handle it and figure it
Right.
out.
Or looking at like, I mean, the toothpick went through your eardrum, bro. That's on you. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all don't do that. It's like, even if there's chaos or fighting, whatever, it's like, Kimberly's having a difficult time with something right now.
Boom.
Right? Or Dad is having a difficult time with something.
Boom.
We need to get Michael through this. Mom is like, and then like y'all just know to do that. And then once the issue is resolved, you go back into whatever is the normal steady state for your family.
Mm-hmm. It's like a pyramid. I mean, one side starts to crumble, you got to build it back up before it completely topples over and you lose everything.
Yes. Carla, how old are you again?
26.
I got a daughter that's 32. You like older?
Because I'm sitting here and I'm like, I mean, and this is my family, and I'm looking at my brother like, this is not what we were talking about.
Hey.
you're like,
Nobody-
how did... Where?
Nobody knows it more than me.
Do you look at your kids and like, you know, you're like, yeah, this is what we do, and then behind closed doors, you're like, I don't even.
You're like, what did I do?
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know how to get there.
I am grateful.
Yeah.
I am grateful.
So, before we segue into the next part, not to put y'all on the spot,
Oh,
Oh, God.
but
you're
I'm
gonna do
totally put you on the spot.
okay.
Thank you, Casey, for being able to catch all of this on the film. Okay. So, if you, how do I want to word this? If you had to tell your parents, either collectively, so either if it's like a message from my dad, a message from my mom, or a message from my mom and dad, that you don't always get to say to them, that you want them to know, right? Because like there's this saying called giving flowers to the living, right? And the sentiment behind giving flowers to the living is, instead of waiting for somebody's eulogy when they're underground, you tell them now. Like, you don't wait to tell them now. So in thinking about that and thinking about, like, even in this context, you're hearing, like, you know, people are chasing all of these materialistic kinds of things, but really at the core, this is what they want, and you've grown up in it, right? Mm-hmm. And even in the things that you went through where you're like, this is a little bit rough, you know, with my dad and I've seen some of the other side of him. Mm-hmm. Even when we were thinking about the B-roll, we were just like out, you naturally were just like, you got his back. Mm-hmm. You know, and thinking about, like, something goes wrong, you're on the phone with your mom, right? And it's just, this is just how y'all flow. So instead of, like, and I'm sure that moment happens later on, but in this moment, in thinking about, like, what y'all have done as a family, like, your homeowner, he's getting ready, he lives with you.
No. I've got my own house.
No, I'm talking about before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, come on, y'all.
I was like, wait a minute.
No.
Catch up. What you doing?
No, I'm talking about, like, that didn't happen for us with you being Lisa.
No.
It didn't, right?
No.
But that did with
live together.
Well, but I'm saying, like, but that happened, right? And then, like, you're in a position, like, you're 26 and you own a house. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's not like, I mean, it's a little something, you know what I'm saying? A little cottage, a little bungalow. Like, that's your house. And this is my car. And this is like y'all have these things. And it's because of this unit. Like, everything, the foundation of everything starts and ends with this unit that you have. So if in the sentiment of giving flowers to the living, if you were going to say something that you don't always get to say, because we have a very jokey kind of levity kind of family. But, like, in all seriousness, like, if you were going to say something either to your mom or dad or both of them, what would you say?
Honestly,
what do you want them to know?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that my senior year of high school was that bad. Honestly, I still apologize to this day, and there's not one thing that I don't say on the regular to my family, or my parents at least, that they don't know, because I just tell them everything, or at least I tell my mom everything.
And what about your dad? Is there anything that you don't tell your dad? If you tell your mom everything, is there anything you don't tell your dad that you might think or that you might feel?
You don't think she tells him?
But I'm talking about, it's different though, even to come from you.
Okay. No, I tell him
everything important.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
But I still say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, hard sorry. Like, I was a pain.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
That's all I got.
I received that. What about you, Nikki?
Again, same thing. I just kind of tell them everything.
Do it.
So,
Do it.
But I'm saying, what is the thing that maybe they don't know, whoever they is?
I mean, we're here for each other. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Even if we're all struggling, we're all here, and we'll all struggle together.
We'll have candlelit dinner together.
As a unit. I mean, we had those rolling blackouts, and, you know, I still have power, but I was like, anybody who needs housing, I got a generator. I'm already planning next steps, because I get that from my mom, level-headed. You know, these two over here are just mad panic. I got no power. Well, I mean, he still had power.
I still have power. So.
But
I see where you're going with that, and I'm just going to preface it by saying there's not a moment that when we see each other or every time we talk, we tell each other we love each other. So there's no what would you say to them now that we haven't already heard?
Because you say it.
Because we say it. That every time we see each other, we hug. When they leave today, we will hug up both of them. We will tell them we love them. They will tell us they love us. And drive safe. And
most importantly,
there is nothing. So if, you know, when we say we love them and they, you know, say something, you know, let's say I'm at their house and I leave and something happens, I'm in an accident, everybody's at peace because we've already said
everything you need to say.
Everything we needed to say.
And I think the most important thing underneath that is not just that it's said, because we were told we were loved, right?
Yeah,
you know,
there's that.
But you believe it.
Yes.
Right? You believe it and you have enough foundation, enough has happened that y'all believe it.
Right.
Like, you know, even if it wasn't said, you know it implicitly and you believe it and y'all live like that.
Yes.
And I don't think y'all realize how profoundly amazing that is what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And
that would be correct.
Yeah. And I wish that for the people watching this, whoever's going to be watching this, that like this is possible. And especially as it goes full circle back to your origin story, like, I don't care where the story started, you prove this is possible. Jen even saying, like, Jen didn't see this modeled, but this is possible. So then I'm thinking, like, if this is possible, you know, in a lot of BIPOC spaces, we talk about generational curses. Y'all broke it. Michael's family won't look like what we did.
No.
Kimberly's family won't look like what we did.
Right.
Wherever this started, it broke, and y'all did it. So we'll use this as a segue. I'm just, not that I wasn't biased before, but like, I am so profoundly in love with y'all as a unit, and I'm so proud to be connected to y'all. And I'll let you know that even privately, Lisa and I talk about, like, we couldn't do what y'all did. And we watch you and we learn from watching y'all. Y'all are remarkably amazing. And we love y'all so very much.
We love you too.
Yeah. All right, we are wrapping up the final piece of this story, which might continue to unfold because we're literally sitting here like, what just happened? Yeah. So now we're recapping with nephew, aka DeVaughn, with the tag team from the EFFF Hour, Karla White Carey, and we of course have patriarch of the Lindsay family, Michael Lindsay. I guess you're Michael Lindsay Sr., huh?
Yes.
Technically you are.
Technically.
That's the whole thing for you and your family, right? And we just wanted a chance because there's so much. Like, we're sitting here, and even when the cameras were off, we were all staring at each other like, word? What?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't fake. Like,
This is real.
Like,
Where's the script?
yeah. Scripted, you know.
And so I just wanted us to take a second to even talk about what we're noticing, because what you're only going to be able to see what the condensed edited version is, but what you may not realize is we've been living life with the Lindsay family for the last few hours. Yeah. And so I just wanted to take a second and be like, wherever you're thinking and feeling, and yeah.
This is like a fly on the wall example for me. Like, if we weren't here, it would have still went the same way. And we're kind of just like peeking into the Lindsay household, and to see like this is just an everyday thing for them is so powerful. To live so functionally despite aspects of dysfunction and outside environmental things that could affect your relationships, still coming out as a beautiful family.
Absolutely.
And I'm curious for you, because we heard some of your story in one of our previous episodes. In thinking about your family, what are some of the things you were sitting thinking about or feeling as you were watching the dynamics of this family unfold?
Yeah, going back to Michael's story, I felt that same fear of not wanting to have children, or what I would do if I had a child, and not replicating the way that my father handled me as a person, or not being there at all. And to hear him overcome that fear was very positive for me. Definitely gave me a lot of hope and a lot of things that I could take back and reflect on as I grow and eventually have a family one day.
Mm-hmm. I will say, as soon as I walked in the door and Jen hugged me, I felt like I was part of this family. Mm-hmm. I had never met her before, right? Mm-hmm. And that was the first thing she did, was embrace me. Mm-hmm. Then to sit and break bread and the laughter, it's like, okay, this is cool. But to actually see what has been captured on the cameras is amazing. Mm-hmm. On so many levels, because I look at Michael's backstory, and then I look at his current life, and I think to myself, how in the world did that turn out the way that it did? Mm-hmm. With an amazing wife, who he has said is the rock, the backbone, and then to listen to the kids talk. And I saw you trying to pull out of them, like, Well, give them their flowers, but they do it daily.
Right. So they're like, what flowers?
Right.
Like, yeah.
So it's like, well, yeah. So I
we
can't
live
give
in
anyone
the garden, right? Like,
Yes.
what flowers to give if you live in the garden?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so watching all of that, a couple times I kind of teared up. I
Me
saw
too.
Kimberly tear up back in the back when he talked about Michael helping out
Yeah.
when the water main broke, right? And I think to myself, whose children are positioned
Yes.
to even be able to do that? Like, who teaches their children that? But more importantly, I want my daughters to see this.
Yes.
Because I just talked to my youngest daughter this morning about examples of relationships and what that looks like. And here we have a biracial couple
Yeah.
who has set the bar high.
Yes.
And I just think it's amazing. I am so glad to be able to be a part of this and to be able to share this past this moment.
Yeah.
I say thank you, Lindsay family, for allowing us in.
And I'm curious about you as, you know, the face and the voice of the EFFF Hour and some of the things you've talked about, like all of these F's that you've
All
talked
these
about.
F's,
And
but-
today we're calling this episode F is for Family.
Yeah.
Like, as it relates to some of the content that you deal with.
We've done fathers, females and fathers, and there wasn't a lot of positive about it. We had 4 black women talking about their relationships with their dads, and everybody had a dysfunctional relationship. Every father at one point in time was absent after maybe 10. 10 was probably the longest anybody had their father in the picture. And then all the negativity that came with that. So looking at that,
And then hearing Kimberly say, well, my dad set the bar.
yeah.
Right? Like, I actually leveled up in how I had to choose a partner because of my dad.
Because of my dad. And that's why some of us, I believe, have chosen lower than what our bar should be raised, because we didn't have that example that Kimberly has. How amazing.
Yeah. Michael, just in sitting back, talking about this stuff, and so what's funny is, when I think about, like, being in the middle of my sibs, right? And my sister and I talk about all of the things. But my brother, his life has looked different, right? The way he postures himself, even for us, he always worked. Michael always worked. And he was always angry. And he was always caring a lot. Like, these are just the things. Michael works hard. Michael's angry. And Michael don't talk about emotions. Like, you know, if I'm like, I need a chance to just process my feelings, Michael will be like, ooh. Do you want me to get Lisa on the phone for you? Or, like, you know. But to sit here and, first of all, I'm just curious about what it's like to talk about these things for you.
It's weird because I thought it to be the norm. I mean, to be honest, I didn't look at it. I looked at it as, this is my family, and this is, I did the best to try to position it to be successful. And I didn't want to be my father. I didn't want to be him. I mean, and even though I have, as we're sitting here now, I realized that he wasn't all wrong. You know, they shared in the wrongness. He was still wrong. Now that doesn't, I didn't want to be that. I still carry stuff to this day about how that went off, and I just didn't want to be that. And
So what does it feel like to sit and listen to this and realize, not only are you not that, but you are this?
I will tell you, I again, because it's an everyday thing, I just didn't even think about it. Michael's right. When Michael was sitting up here, when we had the power outage, we actually didn't lose power, but Kimberly did, and his actual work lost power.
Wow.
So when his work lost power, he called us to see if we had power and if he could bring the generator by. I mean, I know y'all were saying that that's incredible, and I'm saying, I'm looking at it like, no, that's how we.
That's what the Lindsays do.
That's how we position this to work. I mean, you know.
But do you understand how remarkable that is? I mean, like, we know how we grew up.
We do.
And it didn't look anything like that. Like, honestly, the closest version of that we had was Grandpa.
Yes.
And
yes.
we didn't have him in context of family. He was like a lone person who, where he had the ability to, he did.
Right.
But we didn't see that in family.
Right.
So when you're like, it's the norm, it wasn't your norm.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't my norm,
but this has become your norm.
But I can't live there. I can't stay there. There's just nothing good comes from me going back there, staying there. There's nothing there.
Mm-hmm. But the beautiful part is, and you said, in reference to not going back there and things like that, and all the wrong, is that you got it right.
Actually, she got it right.
No, I said you got it right because partnering with her made that difference.
Yes.
I just kind of wait for my name to be called. I have a shirt that says, "Dad is my nickname. Where is Mom is my real name."
Yes. Yeah. And it's just phenomenal what y'all have been able to build. It really is. And I know I'm gonna like drive home and be like, man, like this is gonna sit with me.
As it should.
You know, for a little bit. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit and ask Karla and DeVaughn. And we may already have plans for what we're doing, but in sitting inside of this Lindsay norm for a few hours, what do you think the next thought or question is? Or what's the next thing that comes from someone watching this story?
I see healing. I see what DeVaughn says. Probably the most profound thing I've heard was hope.
Yeah.
Even with me, I mean, I grew up in a dysfunctional situation with my dad, and he's passed on as well. And what it is allowing me to do through this whole podcast is to release that.
Yeah.
To let that go.
Yes.
Because no good comes from going backwards, right?
Right.
So, yeah, it's time to let it go.
Yeah. There's a meme that says, don't look back, you're not going that way.
Yeah.
Right? And like you're living like that.
For me, I would say truth and perspective. I feel like I see a lot of people chasing what they think they want out of a family, or what they think they want out of a marriage or a relationship.
Or reality, period.
Or reality, exactly. I think my life should look exactly like this. But what I've got from the Lindsay household is we had no expectations, but we knew the foundation was we wanted to be together. Mm-hmm. And from that principle and from that foundation blossomed into a beautiful family. It wasn't like, this is the vision I have, and I think we chase a lot of visions.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But ultimately, we're looking for this.
This is the reality show that TV is missing.
Exactly.
1,000%.
Yes.
1,000%. And you know, the funny thing that I keep thinking about, and maybe it's not the right word for it, is like, people are chasing like the sexy thing. Yeah. You know, it's going to look like, and it's like, no, you know what it looks like? It looks like it just feels good. Mm-hmm. Right? Like you feel like you are at home. That's nebulous, abstract concept of feeling at home. Mm-hmm. It's not about material things
at all.
It's about relationships. It's about like when Michael Jr. was just talking about like, it's us. Like it's, you know, it's like that like gang mentality. Like it's like Lindsay's against the world. You know what I'm saying? And that like, almost the thing I was feeling is like, there's actually nothing permanently bad that can happen, because it's never going to happen to an individual in the family. Like whatever happens is fighting for.
It's happening to everybody, and they're going to join forces and make sure it happens
and win. And you use the word Michael, and maybe it's the perfect word for us to like end this episode. And it's such a powerful word, but I love how you used it in the context of this. And you said, I just wanted the family to be successful. And I think when you said that, it was making me realize we are defining success the wrong way.
Yes.
And we're using things instead of using relationships to say success looks like I gave my kids, well, first of all, I partnered with the right person.
Absolutely.
Right? For life. Like I'm doing life with the right person who brings the best out of me and allows me to bring the best out of them. And then because of that, we brought people in the world and we bring the best out of them. And then in turn, as life goes on, they bring the best out of us.
Yeah.
Right? Like you make sure they have for nothing that they need, so that if you hit any moment in life, as y'all are adults and then they're adults, they got your back.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's success. That's success. And it's so, I feel super good and super full.
Yeah.
There's that.
I just say thank you for teaching your son how to make those mashed potatoes with the garlic.
They went hard.
They went hard on the hard in the paint. Yeah.
They went hard.
But what a phenomenal family to use that F word with.
Yeah.
That was the right group of people to say, let's do family.
Yeah.
I don't think we could have looked it up in a dictionary and got a better picture.
I don't. I don't. I feel like I'm cheating. I got a cheat code.
Yeah. You got the inside scoop on it.
Up, down, left, right. Trigger.
Kim, I don't know if your family just has this effect, but I already feel like family. Like you just pull me in and they just welcome me in. It's just such a warm feeling walking into this household. So thank you once again, Lindsay family, for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of Talk About Us. And with the two-piece with...
The Effort Hour.
So, did you like my sound effect?
Yes, I love it.
Got the prince out.
Yeah, right. Look, purple rain everywhere. You liked it. You liked it a little bit.
I did.
So you heard Uncle Kevin playing When Doves Cry. We all doing body weight.
Actually, I was thinking of Raspberry Beret.
Oh, I feel you. And maybe that's what we play on the way out, right? Shout out to KC for holding us down with all of the tech and making sure this is possible, because this is not possible without the mics. We just pontificating over mashed potatoes at a table. But that's what turns this into a podcast. Shout out to my awesome co-host, my partner and sister in this work, and my family who I love so much. I'm Kimberly Brazwell.
I'm DeVaughn Croxton.
I'm Karla White Carey.
We had our guest.
Michael Lindsay.
Thank you for tuning in, and we can't wait to see you on the next episode of Talkin Bout Us.